Happy Information Wednesday, Chalyce McQueen here. I do want to talk about what happens when you go to list your house for sale, whether it's an investment property or one that you presently live in or have recently moved out of. As I mentioned, I've been a real estate broker for almost 15 years now, so I've seen a lot of things in relation to what happens when the house is sitting vacant or during a transition of selling the property from you to the new owner. So I thought it'd be helpful to combine my real estate expertise with my insurance expertise and give you some do's and don'ts when it comes to listing your house and how that affects your insurance. So I'm going to start off our conversation with investment properties. So these are properties that we have rented to other individuals, whether it's a long-term rental, so 12 months or longer, or it is a short-term or seasonal rental, which would be basically anything below 12 months. It is important that we do have the proper policy. The reason being is, number one, there might be coverages for one versus the other that you may or may not need. For example, on a long-term landlord policy, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of personal property coverage. You're going to have probably enough just to take care of your appliances, where a short-term rental may be furnished and you're going to have your personal property include your furniture, etc. And so it's important that you're not going to overpay for a policy that you don't need, or it's not going to cater to your individual needs, and also that you do have the coverage that you do need. And then obviously in the event that that property was to become vacant, it is important that you do, for more than 30 days, that you do notify your insurance agent so we can get the proper coverage. As I was saying, whether it's vacant or, going through a transition, a remodel, etc., just make sure you communicate with your agent so we have the proper coverage in place and there's no surprises. Also, for those of you who rent your properties out, an absolute must to make sure that your tenants have their own personal renter's policy. Number one, your policy is not going to cover their contents in any event that there's a water leak, fire, etc. Their property is not covered, so they need to have their own renter's insurance for that purpose alone. Also, they need to have their own personal liability coverage because they're responsible for their guests, not you. And if they don't have renter's insurance and there's a mishaps on the property by themselves or their guests, they're going to, of course, try to mitigate against you, the owner, which still may happen, but hopefully they have insurance in place and you verify that on an annual basis before renewing a lease to make sure that your butt's covered. And again, you're mitigating your risk and hopefully expense. Now, when it comes to a property that you personally were living in and say you're vacating, bought a new house, it's listed up for sale, vacant houses have a tendency to have theft. And what happens with the standard homeowner's policy, once the policy has been vacant, or the house, has been vacant for 30 days or more, the theft coverage basically goes to nothing. And throughout almost my 15 years of real estate experience, I've seen many houses targeted that are vacant, and they have had AC units stolen, appliances, copper piping, you name it, vandalism. And so it's very important. I don't care where your property is located, who your neighbors are, or anything, everyone is prone to theft. So it's important they communicate to your agent once again of what your plans are, what life changes are happening, or again, did you move out to remodel? Did you, are you selling the house? Are you renting it out? It's important to have those conversations because the last thing I want to see happen is someone having insurance but not having the proper coverage that basically coordinates with what their lifestyle change was or who's living in the property. So your insurance agent is by far your best friend. Make sure you're protected. And again, if you are vacating your property and it'll be sitting for 30 days or more, make sure you have a vacant policy. Most real estate transactions take about 45 days to close with financing. So in that case, you are rolling the dice by having basically your theft coverage go to nothing. So have the conversation, communicate. I'm here to be your advocate, so use me. And as always, ask yourself, are you protected? If you have any questions on today's conversation, you always can reach me at 602-525-5665 or email me at cmcqueen@farmersagent.com. We'll see you next week.